Aisha Jaquilla Degree, 9, disappeared from Shelby, North Carolina, in the early hours of February 14, 2000. She packed her book bag, left her family home north of the city, and began walking along nearby North Carolina Highway 18, despite a storm that morning with heavy rain and wind. Why she left when she did during the storm with pouring rain is a subject of much debate. Running away from home at this stage is unusual, and if she was being abused by someone, either inside or outside the family, there was no evidence discovered of this. Several passing truckers saw her on the Highway 18, and when one approached her to check she was okay, around 1 mile from her home, she ran into a wooded area. Later that morning, her parents discovered she had left the house and immediately contacted the authorities to report her missing. An intensive search that began that day led to the location of some of her belongings in a tool shed near the highway a few days after she vanished. A year and a half later, on August 3, 2001, Aisha's school book bag was discovered on a construction site along Highway 18, north of Shelby in Morganton, double wrapped in black bags. Investigations continued into the disappearance, and the property was searched in September 2024. Aisha Jaquilla Degree was born on August 5, 1990, and was of African American descent. She was the daughter of Harold and Aquila Degree. Aisha was in 4th grade at the nearby Falston Elementary School, which was closed on Friday, February 11th, so she and her brother spent the day at their aunt's house in the same neighborhood. From there, they went to their basketball practice at their school. On February 12th, Aisha's basketball team lost its first game of the season. Her parents recalled that she was somewhat upset about this, crying along with her teammates afterwards, but she seemed to have gotten over it and watched her brother's game. On Sunday, February 13th, 2000, the children went to church from a relative's house and then returned home. Around 8 to 8:30 p.m., both children went to bed in their shared room. The power went out in the neighborhood between 9 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. the next day after a car accident hit the power line. Harold checked on his children and saw both Aisha and O'Brant asleep in their beds. He checked on them again shortly before he went to bed at 2:30 a.m. on February 14th and saw both sleeping. Shortly after this, 10-year-old O'Brant heard Aisha's bed squeak and may have seen her standing in their room. Thinking she had just gone to the restroom, he took no notice and went back to sleep. Aisha must have got out of bed around that time, taking her book bag, which she had previously packed with several sets of clothes and personal items, and leaving the house. Between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m., a truck driver and a motorist saw Aisha walking south along Highway 18, wearing a long-sleeved white t-shirt and white pants, just north of its junction with Highway 180. They reported these sightings only after seeing news reports of Aisha's disappearance later in the day. Aquila Degree woke at 5:45 a.m. to get the children ready for school. She went to the children's room to wake them up at around 6:30 a.m. and called them to take a bath, but O'Brant was in his bed and Aisha was nowhere to be seen. Aisha's father, Harold, thought Aisha might have gone to his mother's house across the street, but when Aquila went there, she was not there. Aquila then called her mother, who told her to call the police immediately. All the doors to the house were found locked, but Aisha kept her house key in the book bag, indicating that no one had forced entry into the house and abducted her. The first police officers arrived on the scene within 10 to 15 minutes. The tracker dogs were deployed. Unfortunately, they could not pick up Aisha's scent, probably because of the strong wind at the time. Aquila ran through the neighborhood, calling Aisha's name. Friends, family, and neighbors helped the police search the area, but they found nothing. Aisha's black book bag and black Tweety Bird purse were missing from her room, along with a pair of blue jeans with a red stripe, black sneakers, a long-sleeve white shirt with purple lettering, a red vest with black trim, black overalls with Tweety Bird on them, and a long-sleeved black and white shirt. 3 days after Aisha disappeared on February 17, 2000, some of her belongings were discovered in the doorway of a tool shed at Turner's Upholstery on Highway 18, not far from where the truckers had seen her. The items included candy wrappers, a pencil, a marker pen, and a hair bow. A search of the area failed to produce additional evidence. A week later, the search was called off after 9,000 man-hours had been invested in combing the area where she had last been seen. The sheriff's office and FBI were puzzled as to why Aisha had decided to leave the house. There was no evidence of such dysfunctional family or poor academic performance. Still, investigators believed that was the most likely explanation for her departure. Then she either got lost and died of hypothermia or was abducted. A month after Aisha's disappearance, the Degree family appeared on the Montel Williams Show, America's Most Wanted, and the Oprah Winfrey Show. On August 3, 2001, Aisha's book bag and other items were discovered during a construction project off Highway 18 in Burke County, near Morganton, about 26 miles north of Shelby. A contractor on the site saw a black trash bag buried on the property. When he opened the bag, he found another black trash bag. When he opened the second one, he found a child's backpack with Aisha's name and telephone number written on it. Police searched the property, but were unable to find anything of interest. They found a pair of men's khaki pants, but it was considered irrelevant to the investigation. After Aisha's backpack was discovered, police officially announced they believed foul play was a factor in Aisha's disappearance and that she had probably been adjusted after she voluntarily left the house. The family did not own a computer at the time, so it was considered unlikely a sexual predator had been in touch with her. In 2025, the investigation into Aisha Degree's disappearance continues, with law enforcement focusing on local family and a green vehicle believed to be connected to her disappearance. While no arrests have been made, search warrants have been executed, and the FBI has publicly stated they believe she was a victim of homicide. A reward for information leading to her recovery or information about her disappearance has been increased to $75,000. Just recently in North Carolina, in Shelby, to be exact, a woman involved in Aisha Degree's case was deceptive on a recent lie detector test when asked if she concealed information, according to new search warrants. Lizzie Grace Dedman Foster is one of 3 daughters shared by Roy Lee Dedman and Connie Elliott Dedman, who were identified as suspects by a series of search warrants that were executed on September of 24. So far, nobody has been charged. Foster is the oldest of the 3 girls, with the younger 2 being Sarah Gwen Dedman Capel and Annalie Victoria Dedman Ramirez. Foster was 16 years old, Capel 15, and Ramirez 13 at the time of Aisha Degree's disappearance on February 14, 2000. The then 9-year-old Aisha went missing early Valentine's Day morning and was last seen along Highway 18 in Shelby. Drivers on Highway 18 reported Aisha, quote, was seen being pulled into a 1970s green Lincoln Thunderbird or another similar vehicle, end quote, the warrant said. A book bag belonging to Aisha was found more than a year later in August of 2001, wrapped in 2 black trash bags and 21 miles north of where she was reported last seen. Construction workers found the bag off the Highway 18 in Burke County. In the book bag were some items that did not belong to Aisha. DNA review of the items in the book bag revealed 2 matches, Annalie Victoria Dedman Ramirez and Russell Underhill, who was a patient in a nursing facility that the Dedmans operated. The September warrant said a former employee of the Dedmans informed investigators they were told Roy Lee Dedman would send his 16 to 17-year-old daughter, Lizzie Grace Dedman Foster, to transport patients in an unreliable vehicle to and from Broughton Hospital in Morganton. The warrants went on to say that Highway 18 was the most logical route from the nursing home to the hospital. During the September searches of the Dedman properties, investigators seized a green 1964 AMC Rambler, which has very similar features to the vehicle Aisha was allegedly pulled into, the warrants said. A green 1964 AMC Rambler was towed from one of Roy Dedman's properties in September of 24. Because there has been no trace of the missing girl for now 25 years, investigators suggested in the September warrants that Aisha Degree was a victim of homicide, with her body concealed. No remains have been found. In the years since, Foster moved to Texas. Capel still lives in Shelby, and Ramirez lives in Charlotte. Roy Lee Dedman is now in his 80s. While the September searches happened, an attorney for Roy Lee Dedman said he denied any involvement in Aisha's disappearance. The attorney also asked the community not to jump to any conclusions and to let law enforcement do their job to avoid spreading any rumors. New warrants say Foster was deceptive on lie detector tests. Just days after the September searches, a former acquaintance came forward to investigators. The acquaintance occasionally frequented bars and house parties with the Deadman girls and saw Foster sobbing and bawling while being extremely intoxicated at a house party in the mid-2000s, according to new warrants released in February 2025. The February warrants said the acquaintance overheard Foster make several statements admitting to killing Aisha Degree. The warrant said the acquaintance told investigators that he specifically heard Foster say, "I killed Aisha Degree," end quote. The new warrants further said that upon hearing the statement by Lizzie, her sister Sarah came up and became stern, angry, and told Lizzie to shut the fuck up. Following his September 18th interview with investigators, the acquaintance said he was confident in his memory, according to the warrants. He then passed a polygraph test, commonly referred to as a lie detector test, to verify his testimony. Months after the property searches and acquaintances' interviews with investigators, Foster was contacted by investigators on February 10th and was asked to take her own polygraph test. The February warrant said that as part of the lie detector test, she was asked whether she was concealing information and was found to be deceptive. Following that interview, warrants said Foster called her ex-husband and talked to him for more than 45 minutes. The warrant said he has been uncooperative in the case. Aisha Degree has been missing since February 14th of 2000. In addition to details about Foster's polygraph results, the February warrants also shed light on some of the Deadman family's reaction to the searches. Phone records showed the daughters called each other and their father throughout the afternoon and evening on the day they were informed that the searches would be done. Warrants said Capel sent a text to Foster that said in part, quote, "Dad is probably going to be a huge suspect," end quote. That text was sent on September 10th, around the time the searches began. The following day, September 11th, Ramirez sent Foster a text that said, quote, "Lizzie, you don't need to be talking to anyone. I'm at the lawyer's office," end quote. The warrant said that Foster refused to talk with investigators on September 28th, and one day later she texts one of her sisters and said, quote, "What's going to happen to me since I wouldn't talk to them?" end quote. She followed that up with a text that said, quote, "I'm afraid it's going to get worse," end quote. More texts included in the warrants revealed that Foster told Capel that she wanted to do what Dad says. A few messages later, Sarah said, "You don't want something we do or say to impact him, but we also can't be living like this either," end quote. The latest warrants were dated February 13th and requested permission to search Foster's and Capel's phones as well as their father's. So far, nobody has been charged.